Hello and welcome back to Read Becca for my February to be read list. It's as always very loosey-goosey. We try to use these as things to pull from and not necessarily a list I will exactly be reading. I'm usually pretty good about getting to the books that I pick out for my TBRs though, even if not quite in the month. So let's look at the physical books that I have at the moment. First, let's start with the ones I didn't get to in January. So my January had a bit of a wrench thrown at it in the loss of my dog. So I had some definite downtime in reading. So these have already been shown to you. I've already talked about them. I will link that previous video down below if you want to check it out. We have Participation by Anna Moshavakis. We have The Brave Foolish Souls from the City of Swords by Benedict Patrick. And we have Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence. So those ones all I think are kind of top of the line to get to. Then we have Garbagist, The Wasted Weekend coming up. And I do really want to try and participate a little bit. So I'm pulling from last year's Garbagist, the full month August picks. I didn't touch this one. This is Tales from Gavigan'S Bar by L. Sprague de Camp and Fletcher Pratt. I believe this is, as it says, tales, so I think this is going to be general stories, so I can dip into a few stories. The back says, the weirdest drinking establishment in the universe, Gavigan'S Bar, is presided over by Mr. Aloysius P. Cohen, bartender, where you will meet such not-so-regular customers as Councilman Maguire, who brought his own leprechaun with him from Ireland, Mrs. Vaccarescu and her husband Putsy, the were-dachshund, Mr. Murdoch, who borrowed a very small dragon to rid his apartment of mice and lost it, and assorted witches, magicians, devils, dryads, and the occasional demigod. So I think that's going to be fun and trashy and perfect for a weekend of Garbagist that's going on, hosted by Criminali, as always. So I'll link the details for that readathon down below. And then onto the newer stuff that I have not talked about before. We have Lost in the Moment and Found by Shannon McGuire. This is the 8th, I think, Wayward Children novella, and I saw this at the library. This has just come out. It's a new 2023 release, so I'm excited to get into it. I have heard this is probably the darkest of the series so far. This series follows children that have gone to portal worlds like Narnia, that sort of thing, and come back, and they don't really feel like they belong in this world. So the sort of centering conceit is that there's this school for wayward children that they go to. However, the books alternate between being centered in our world and these sort of looks back mostly at a child's experience in the portal world. So this is going to be a portal world story. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see, I believe, a new character going to their portal world that we're going to be introduced to here. So very cool. I always enjoy this series, though. At varying levels, I think certain novellas in this series hit with different people, and this one so far is hitting with the people that really liked In an Absent Dream, and that one is my favorite. So we will see. I'm really excited for it, and this does hit my goals for hitting sequel books in series. Then we have The House of Rust by Kaja Abdallah Ajaber. This won the Le Guin Prize, the first Le Guin Prize last year in 2022. So I don't know a ton about this, and I haven't heard a ton of people talking about it. I know we're following the daughter of a fisherman who goes missing, and from what I can tell, it sets off this sort of whimsical or magically strange journey. It seems to be somewhat magical realist, and there's a talking cat, so we know I'm very into that. There's apparently a bone ship that she is traveling on, so I'm very looking forward to getting into this. The judges for the prize really picked out a selection of books that were really in my wheelhouse, so I think this is probably going to be a great book for me, and I'm looking forward to getting to it. Then we have a nonfiction selection. So this is actually my bestseller. So you can see we have red stickers at my library for bestsellers. I'm picking a bestseller every month to try and read, and this is River of Gods. It's Genius, Courage, and Betrayal, The Search for the Source of the Nile by Candace Millard. I have seen people who've read this really loving it. This is following the two British explorers, I believe, who go in search of the source of the Nile and the conflicts they get into, the problems over claiming credit for that. And I think that's just going to be really fascinating. But I'm especially interested in this because I was definitely raised with kind of that background, the religious background that involved missions and exploration, a lot of which now I understand is very, colonialist and caused great problems for these nations where they went into. I was raised very much with a single-sided lens into that being good. The exploration of, these supposedly uninhabited places or primitive places was a good thing for them. And now I don't agree with that so much. So I think this is going to be interesting to come at as really the first time I've looked at that sort of story from my current lens. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. So those are what I definitely have on my physical TBR. Now, I also have been kind of lining up audiobook holds to really get to some of those things that I feel I've missed out on or really want to get into. So the first of those is The Jasmine's Throne by Tasha Suri. This is big, chunky, epic fantasy, so I won't say much more than that. I do expect that to come in probably next week, so I think that's very likely to happen this month. And I was thinking about getting to one of Suri's older series because there are some previous books out there that sound maybe more appealing, but this particular series has a new book that came out, the second book, in 2022. So I do want to try to get to those newer releases in a more timely fashion, so I'm actually continuing on with things that are actively in the discussion about awards and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm going to try to get to both the books in the series this year. I don't know if I'll get to the second book immediately, but we're going to get to the first one this month, I think. The other audiobook that I have lined up is Nona the Ninth, the third in the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. I have really enjoyed the first two books. I'm very much looking forward to this, and the audio for it is fantastic. So I am hoping to do the audio perhaps with reading as well, because the second book was really complicated and kind of needed eyes on text to keep things straight. I've heard this one is not quite as difficult. Nona the Ninth is a more straightforward plot from what I hear. And this is a science fantasy story with very, very snarky characters. They've great banter between the characters. It's really a top-notch element of the series. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. I don't know if my hold will come in though. So this one is a pretty long hold. It's a very new release, so hopefully it will come in. It's looking about 4 weeks, so it might be early in. Usually mine come in a little bit quicker because of those people that are, pushing back their holds. So I think it might come in at the end of this month. So really that is what I'm looking forward to reading this month for my to be read list. Let me know if you are reading any of these books coming up. And hopefully we've got some exciting momentum for February to get me back into reading as much as I would like. Thank you, as always, so much for watching.